this is Joke Hoetmer, Raw and Real. Tonight we're going to talk about blended families and step-parents and the rejection they feel and why the children do this. It is a very, very common thing. And usually the situation is more or less like a clock. It's got all these little intricate little things that are happening, these little wheels, and this little wheel and this little wheel is connected to that wheel, and this is extended to that one, and now it's got to actually work together as a clock or as a watch. This is what is actually happening with this blended family. All these different positionings and different scenarios and emotions and pain and ages and power struggle and love and hate and all in one go, and now it's got to be functioning as a unit. This is very, very, very interesting that most families do experience this. I am not an expert on this, but what I did feel that I have had stepchildren, I have had foster care children, and I've been married, single and remarried, and all these scenarios in my life with all these children have actually taught me how to deal with this. You see, you don't always accept the child for what they are, but they don't accept you for what you are. And you can't expect them to actually accept your husband or your partner from the very beginning, because they are all at different stages. So this rejection that you are experiencing as a step-parent or a father or mother of a blended family is very, very difficult to negotiate. One of the top things that I would say is detach yourself. Understand that this child needs time to grow. This child needs to understand what is actually happening here. Remember, it depends on how the divorce has actually gone. Because if the divorce has been very smooth and open from the beginning, or parents that have been unhappy for a long time, the children might even be relieved to have another mother. Or if the real mother or the own father would be the one who would be speaking bad to the children, it would be a problem as well, because what is happening here? The child is not a fool. They catch this and they are hurting, so they will utilize it. Now, when their children are young, it's not really such a big problem. But when they become teenagers, and most of us do have stepchildren, including me, that are teenagers, now you have a complete different scenario. This is so difficult to maneuver. One thing that I do recognize is the dynamics of the step-parent. You've just got to understand. You have to have your relationship with your partner or your husband. Let that be the biggest front that you could have and that you work on. But you can't work on that at the cost of the children. Because let's be real, it really wasn't the children's fault that the divorce has happened. And strangely enough, in my experience, is that children always seem to blame themselves for the divorce. So when you are a step-parent, this is going to happen, that your children are going to experience that they're going to have to blame somebody. Now, somebody's going to be the baddie. Now, we used to laugh a lot with the children about saying, who's the baddie in this situation? It is, nobody's the baddie. It has happened. And what one needs to do actually is just accept that this is going to be a challenge. But if there's enough love, that's the key word, enough love, first of all, with the adults, being together and showing that, it will transpire towards the children. Remember, the children need to blame somebody. make sure they don't blame themselves. And you don't get into the blame game. So if the child actually blames you as the mother of breaking up the marriage or the father of breaking up the marriage, I would say number one would be have that relationship with your child. Fathers, take your children out for dates and have a little bit of me time with them. You'll be surprised how important it is for the child just to be recognized and to be heard of their feelings. You see, their feelings are very real, even though they might not be right. It's not a matter of right or wrong. It's more a matter of that they are real. So as a parent, the mother or the father actually starts working with the child and recognize their feelings and say, I feel the same. I recognize that. I feel confused sometimes. I don't really know how to handle it. But one thing you must know is it's okay to have those feelings. And as you get your child to actually express their feelings, you find that a lot of it comes out. A lot of them just need reassurance and need to be understood and heard. That was the biggest thing that I found. Making time with your child and saying it wasn't their fault that they got divorced. It wasn't this person, whoever it is, the father or the mother that is now the step-parent's fault that they're in this situation. And get that nicked from the beginning. And that it's okay for them to feel this way. The next thing is very, very important. The parents, whatever age these children are, must have a united front. This united front, oh boy, it is so important to be able to be together in agreeing to the situation, even if at that moment you don't agree the way the stepfather is actually handling your child. Never, ever show this in front of your children. Now, I must just quickly say this. My children were all teenagers. And I've got this thing about respect. And my husband, we were all sitting and having like a family night out, and we had our fish and chips in front of the TV. And my husband did something that I was not happy with. And at that moment, I just flipped like we do under pressure. And I actually disrespected him openly in front of the children. The moment I'd done it, I actually looked at my children's faces and I saw shock. Now, it took me a big girl pill. It took me a major big step to go in front of my children and just say, I am sorry. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean to disrespect you. And I'm just sorry. Don't explain why, because sometimes you don't even have to. Because the sorry and mean it is really the word. I couldn't believe the change in these children's faces. So we were back to being a united front. So don't disagree in front of your children. The biggest thing that you could actually do is that you are in love and that you're having fun. And if you see your children watching you in this distance, you must know these children, no matter what age, are watching you. Then the step-parent can take a time off to actually spend some quality time in the way you think that child needs it. Now, you know, there is such a thing as that you can't even, sometimes you don't even like your stepchild, but that's okay, embrace that. And because, you know, I sometimes didn't even like my own children as teenagers. They're not always so likable, but, you know, embrace that. So when you have a child that comes out with that I hate you, then you must embrace that and say, I get that. You know, sometimes I don't think you're such a nice person as either. But you know what? I choose to love you. As long as you're in this house, I would like you to know that I will do everything to love you. By that said, as you are making them understand that you also feel that, you also feel insecure about the situation and you're not always sure how to be. On that point, love is the biggest thing that actually affects a child the most, to say that you're going to love them in spite of. But with that, and this is the next step, by having a united front as a family, as a couple, you should have a united front as a family, because the interaction with the children itself will be a problem. What I did, and I don't know how this actually came by, but it really worked. I think it was more like a matter of I was trying to run my home as a business or my children as a business. What we did is every Sunday night, we all had coffee and cake or some snack or something, a treat that the children like if you don't want to eat cake. It's just a matter of sitting around the table, having family time. At this time, the child and the adults are all equal. Everybody gets a turn, from the little one of 3 years old to the 17-year-old or the 18-year-old. Each one has a turn to say their say, how they feel, what they like and what they don't like. In that time, there's only 2 rules. Never be disrespectful. Say how you feel and how you'd like to feel. And give an example of what it really is that worries you. You'd be surprised what comes out of that situation. You will get a lot, as an adult, you will get a lot of feedback of where your children are. And they're not allowed to crisscross and talk over each other. And they're not allowed to laugh at each other's feelings. Like, say, the little one, which I remember she was 12 and the other children were already 16, 17. They could giggle that the little one was all crying about they didn't get a Valentine's card. I mean, it was ridiculous at that age. But you know what? I would not allow them to mock whatever the other one would say, no matter how painful or difficult it was. Even sometimes myself, when I would like to give a smile, because it was quite cute or maybe ridiculous. But you see, by respecting one another's feelings, it brings down such a strong constitution for this family. This disjointed family, this family that are thrown together, that have no say in the process, but yet have that chance to actually be together for the very, very reason that to be a united family and to have that flow. By that, you are teaching a very, very big thing, and that is respect. Respect that they are heard, respect that they are seen by the whole family, respect that they are understood, even though, as I said, the other family don't really agree. It doesn't matter. That word, okay, it's okay. So if the teenager does go and gives off that, she doesn't like to be rushed in the bathroom in the morning, that is when you actually start putting it through to the family. What do you think the solution would be? How would you like this to happen? So then she will come up with an idea, and that idea would be a thing that the children would like. I mean, that they could work together on. So as they get that idea, you actually experience that the child is answering themselves, and you're getting the other kids to work together because they have the same problem about the bathroom not being, the bathroom not being available. So you're actually running this like a little business. That is when you do that, is when your family starts working together as a unit. Here we have them giving their problems and they're creating solutions. then the parents have the turn as well. And the parents must be just as open to these children with their complaints about that. Now, sometimes in the beginning it was very, very hard because the teenagers gave me a harder time than obviously the little ones because they wanted to get my edge in there. Mom, I don't like this about you. I don't like that about you. Wonderful part of it is, at the end of the day, it all worked out well. Interesting though, this is the time when you're going to have the family rules. Now, these are the non-negotiable rules, and these are going to be the negotiable rules. In other words, if there's a time that the teenagers have to be back at home at a certain time, and they show that they are responsible because daddy's not home, and there's now the stepmom doing that. As they show that they are responsible and they respect her, they could maybe have a little bit of leeway on other areas. So this is when you have a scenario of teenagers and children, little ones that are different ages, because maybe the one parent has got younger children than the other children, and this is how you negotiate that. It is actually so exciting to actually see that. So let's recap. Build a united front by allowing the children to have their own voice. If it's your own child, speak to them. Let them speak their fears. Have a contact with them in that way. If it is your stepchild, wait for the right time. Go and sit in their bedroom. Play the game. Ask them if you could understand what they're doing, what game they're playing. Go on their level. They might just think you're silly, but then you just lie there and watch them and ask him questions about his game. I mean, gosh, I have no cooking clue about games, but boy, oh boy, did that work when I actually went into my stepchild's room and I sat with him and I tried to figure out his game, and he started laughing. And I said, can I try that? And then as I tried it, and obviously he tried to help me, and then we had this thing going. I built up a relationship like that. What was also very interesting is when I had a teenage daughter of 17, and she was used to having a free hand and actually doing night clubbing. So what I did is I asked her for a date. I said Friday night if I could come with her and just the two girls, and we go night clubbing. She was actually quite shocked, and she didn't believe that I was going to do that. And knowing I was busy at the time, running 3 businesses and blah, 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 I made that appointment. I was there at 8 o'clock, ready, got showered, dressed the way she would like me to dress, a little bit more hip, and off we went night clubbing. The strange thing is, as we went from one nightclub to the other, and I was just blending and loving the young people, because it was still early night. I suppose it gets vicious a little bit later. I was drinking my Coke, and she actually decided, let's go to the other one. Let's go to the other one. So after the 3rd nightclub, she decided, she says, Mom, Auntie Joke, let's go home. So we went home, and she said to me, well, what did I experience? I said, this was quite interesting. I just wanted to know what you were doing every Friday night and why you were so adamant of going. Because I accepted that. I accepted where she was at. She actually started talking to me and saying, well, you know what, I don't think it's really such a good thing, and she actually spoke herself out of it. I never said a word. She stopped clubbing, and I had a stepdaughter that could actually be part of my life, and we started doing shopping together and building up a relationship that way. What I'm saying by this is, meet them where they are. If they are small children and they're throwing tantrums, bend right down and reach where they're at. If they're teenagers, join them wherever they're at. If they love their cricket or their sport or their TV or their games, in most of the cases, join them where they're at, on their level. And when they realize that you're quite serious about it, because at first they might think you're weird, That's okay. Because then you're coming on common ground. Find the common ground. Relate to them where they're at, where they're hurting, where they are having all these anger feelings, and just say to them, well, I feel the same. I don't always feel comfortable. I don't understand what you want, and I'm also scared. And strangely enough, that is when the children actually start responding and maybe even give you a hug. And this is the start of a good relationship. So I want to encourage the family. It's never over. Remember, this is the clock with all the little segments and all these little wheels and all these little levers all work. This is a clock with all these different emotions, with all these different angles and setups that they are having to cope with. They are the child. You are the adult. It is your place to navigate this. If you do find this difficult, click on Brave and Bright website, register your name, let's talk. Look at all the other videos that we have there, put in your questions, book for a free session for the first half an hour, and let's talk and let's support you. We are creating support groups on the different levels. So please you're not doing this alone. We want to see you on the other side. We want you to have that success that you really know you can be. Respect, understanding, listening, and agreeing. Putting in boundaries and making sure that they understand, that they are loved, and they are heard is the key. Thank you. Bye-bye.